So today we'll do the third part of Silk Road. In the previous one, in the first one, you had seen the journey the narrator started, and there he came across many things. And after that, again, in the second part, we saw that they had to face difficulties on the way, and the road was not easy. It was winding, and the valleys were very deep. The roads were covered with snow, and even the river was frozen, and they had to move on it with great difficulty. And now in the third part, we'll see in the same way they had many difficulties on the way as they had in the second part, and then finally they reached a place called Hor, H-O-R, Hor. And there they found that it was very dirty place. There was no vegetation, and it was dusty and rocky area. Garbage was lying all around, and it was situated on the shore of Lake Mansarovar. And you have come across that when you visit any of the places, then you see that people throw the polythene bags, bottles, and all sorts of things that they use on the way. So in the same way, this place was also very dirty. And there he stayed for a while, and then his colleague, the friend that he went with him, called Daniel, he went back to Lhasa on the truck. He boarded the truck and he went back. While the narrator and the driver, both of them, they moved forward, and they proceeded over there, and then they reached the place called Darchan. Darchan was very cold as it was on the high altitude. The pressure was low, and the narrator was finding it very difficult. He caught cold also. He was having bad cold. His nose was blocked and he could not breathe properly. Then he stayed there, and the driver, he took him to the doctor because he was not able to sleep the whole night. He had to sit up and he had to breathe through one nose, and after that his nose also got blocked, so he had to breathe through his mouth. So this way his throat was also getting bad. And then when he went to the doctor gave him some small pills, and he compared those pills to the dung of the sheep. And then he was given a powder that was in paper. He folded the powder in the paper and gave it to him. And after taking that powder and the pills, he was feeling quite better, and he had a good sleep. And later on again he took the medicine, and he was quite satisfied, and he was very happy that he was okay, he was all right. And then he saw that many of the people were there, and there were shops, very few shops over there. They were selling Chinese cigarettes and all sorts of things over there. And many people had not come because it was not the time for the Kora. And if it was the season of Kora, many people gathered over there, and it was almost crowded. But that time very few people were there, and he decided how he'll go to the Kora, how he'll going to perform Kora to the Kailash, on Kailash, Mount Kailash. And so it was quite difficult for him, and it was his first experience that he was having. And he could see the Chinese youth was there in the military uniform, and he was working in one of the dhabas that we call dhabas here nearby. So it was a small restaurant. He was working over there, and he cleaned the table with a greasy cloth, and he brought glass thermos of tea. And after half an hour, this driver, he said, okay, now I'm going back, and you be over here and do Kora. the narrator, he was left all alone, and now he did not know what he had to do. And one afternoon he was sitting over there in the hotel, one of the cafe, and he was having a glass of tea. And then he started thinking how he is going to help himself with the program of the Quora that he had come over there. So he was thinking that I should always think positive about it, and if I'll think negative, then it will be very difficult for me to do the Quora. And then after that, he in the small dark and cavernous and long metal stove was there in the middle of the Norbu place, and there the walls and ceilings were wreathed in sheets of multicolored plastic, and it was stripped variety broad blue, red and white, and it made into a stout voluminous sleeping bag sold all over China and in many countries of Asia and in Europe. So there was a big bag like thing, and that was sold in China and in the European countries and in some of the places in Asia. And China was a successful exporter, and through the Silk Road that we call it today also, and it was previously called Silk Road, through that all these things were sent and sold. The cafe had a single window, and the place where he was sitting, it was having a single window, and he could see that it was like the pages of the novel or the notebook, and he wanted to enjoy himself, and he could not do that. So he had brought the novel with him, and he started reading it because he had no other time, no other thing to do except sit wastefully and look here and there. So he took out his novel and started reading it. And the friend, one of the person whom he met over there, he asked him which book he was reading, and then he sat opposite him, and the table had a rickety legs, means the legs of the table were rickety. Rickety means they were all bent. And he said to him in English that after he had ordered tea, he told him that we struck up a conversation, and then both that fellow and the narrator, they started talking to each other. And then he told him that he was working in Beijing at Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. It was the Institute of Ethnic Literature, and the narrator assumed that he had come over there for the field work. And then the conversation went off with each other. And children, I think this is all for today. Rest will read tomorrow.